Tell us about South African economics.
Economics. I don't know. It's academic things that the people, the students at universities that are studying, like the first year students who are studying, some programs or even economics itself in comments. Also you go to economics for South African students. It's been prescribed for them to buy this book at the highest price in these times of the economy itself. Now, in the book, the whole book talks about demand and supply, demand and supply. Now, who's the person who's doing demand? The person who's doing demand is a South African. Is you, is everybody else. Because you demand by buying products. You demand, and to have a demand, you need to have, a demanding power. That is money. And to have money, you need to work. Now, in the book, this book doesn't talk about labor at all. Now, this book has jumped to conclusion to talk about demand and supply. I'm demanding, because I need to demand. But before I demand, I need to be employed. And when I get employment, I have to go and work as a laborer. Now, this book does not talk about that. And this book talks about choices, how the people make choices, and how do they choose, in their decision and choices and things like that. Now, what about labor? What about time theory? What about the employment, not just the unemployment? Now, when you go towards the end of this book, it talks about unemployment, but it doesn't talk about employment itself. Why do they talk about unemployment? Is because they won't be able to supply. You understand what I'm saying? And you won't be able to demand. But why can they emphasize? There is somewhere where they're talking about, within the book, they're talking about factors of production. That is labor, land, and things like that. But this book does not outline a lot of issues around land, around employment or labor. It doesn't talk about that. It just jumps to conclusion and give you a little information, because it's not even introduction. This book is not even written as introduction, but even if it was an introduction to economics for South African students, I guess they should have a fixed inclusion of labor, because that's where everything starts. I have to labor, I have to work in order for a supplier to get a product from us who are laboring. You get what I mean? I have to be employed in order for me to demand. Now, this book is about demand and supply, and choices. It doesn't talk about the decision that you make and what time you make those decisions, and that is the time theory. Because the time theory is the most important thing in everything that you do. If you're poor, it's because maybe you didn't work hard, you didn't work fast, you didn't use the time management, you had no idea how to manage your time, and that's why sometimes you make lots of flops, and then you find yourself that you don't have money, or you have overspent your money on something that's not important. You didn't keep your time, you lose a job, you lose something. Now, I guess this book should have a fixed inclusion of time theories. It should have talked about the labor. That is the most important thing before they speak about demand and supply. Demand and supply. Now, I want to know, what is the conspiracy theory of this book? Why do they exclude the labor, the time theory? That is the most important element. I want to know. I'm curious about that. I want to know.